Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of Think Business Live. Looking forward to talking with Erik Huberman. Erik, it's great to connect with you. You launched Hawke Media in 2014, now valued at over $150 million. You're the fastest growing marketing consultancy agency in the United States. Looking forward to talking about all of that. You grew and sold 2 e-commerce companies by the age of 26. We're going to get into a bunch of that. That's going to be fun. I actually started an internet company when I was 23 and we sold it when I was 25. So those were really, really exciting times, and I'm looking forward to diving in. I want to start off, Erik. I'm a business coach. I work with successful people all over the globe who are stuck, get them unstuck. So I always like to ask my clients when I kick it off, what's a recent place you got stuck and how'd you get unstuck?
Ooh, I mean, I feel like part of growing a business is always getting stuck. Like, just to be blunt, like if you're not trying. Like there's 2 parts of this. One is like, are you trying to achieve more? If you are, you're not there yet. So there's going to be points like no company grows up into the right linearly forever. Like that's just not what happens. And so you're by nature going to get stuck in things. I'd say most recently has been more driven by the economy. Like we're in a time now, we've run as you said, the fastest growing marketing consultancy in the country for a decade almost. And there is just less demand for companies looking for new marketing services right now. And so figuring out how to build out a sales and retention apparatus that still allows the company to grow in a time when the economy is down. And it's, I don't know what people are calling it, whether it's a recession or a slowdown or whatever you want to call it. I don't think any business owner would argue that the economy is ripping right now. So knowing that, I'd say that'd be technically stuck, but it's about looking at what you have. And one of my favorite lines is, what does this make possible? And like framing it that way, where it's like, okay, well, the economy's slow, things are a little tighter. What does this make possible? Well, for us, M&A, because we've been aggressive and we have a great team and we've been doing this a decade and we have a war chest and all that. Well, I'm sure a lot of agencies are struggling. There's probably an opportunity to roll some up. So that's one thing we look like. So it's always looking at, here, given the situation, what does this make possible? So that's more of the external factors. Internally, get stuck all the time trying to figure out like, what is this next phase? But we really try to not reinvent the wheel here. We've realized over and over again, when we think we're so brilliant that we're going to do things differently than everyone else has done historically, generally they've been done that way for a reason. And that doesn't mean you shouldn't try to push against the grain a little bit, but also accepting that a lot of things are there for a reason also helps get through some of these periods too.
Yeah, it's great. I remember when I was in commercial real estate, this is like 20 some years ago, there was a guy in the office that was new and everything he listed, he had closed. And so the guy who was running the office called the owner of the company and said, hey, I want to tell you, like, this guy is, batting 1,000. He listed and closed everything.
Yeah.
And the response of the owner of the company was, then he's not working hard enough, because if he hasn't failed at it, then that means he's not doing all the right things. And so I appreciate what you're talking about. All right, thanks for that, Erik. All right, let's talk about your book for a minute, because I always, Think Community, we talk to a lot of authors, a lot of business owners, a lot of authors on the show. I love a book. I mean, for $9.95 or anywhere up to $19.95, you can get somebody's lifetime of knowledge in a book that they wrote. You wrote The Hawke Method, the 3 principles of marketing that made over 3,000 brands soar. Let's work backwards from that. What does it mean to soar today?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's to have that rocket ship growth. I mean, that's what we're doing this for. Like, I love growing businesses. I love growing my own business. I love growing others. And so it's figuring out, how do we take a company that's at a certain stage and get it to the next stage? How do we unlock new revenue opportunities for it? How do we do that in a profitable way at scale? And that's what we've focused on. And so the book is really about sort of modern marketing 101, which the irony of it is even a lot of the Fortune 500 companies I've worked with aren't covering their bases there, where it's like marketing is covered by 3 pillars: awareness, nurturing, and trust. How do you introduce your company to new potential customer? How do you then nurture that to get them to become a customer and stay a customer? And then how do you build trust with your audience so that they want to convert as well? And how that all plays with each other to actually create a growing business. And that is something a lot of companies are missing. And so we found after, again, at that, when we launched the book, it'd be like 7 years of doing this. We just found that there were a lot of consistent things missing, that if you cover these bases, you're probably going to have a successful company, assuming you have a decent product or service. That's obviously, but aside from that, you plug in these basics, you should do well.
Yeah. It's interesting during when COVID hit, I think we work with kind of the same clientele, solopreneurs to fortune companies and everything in between. And it was interesting when COVID hit, I was suggesting that people double their marketing. And many people, it was the first thing to go, which I felt was a mistake, because that was the time to keep the message going. And so can you talk about marketing and kind of, what it is for those who don't know exactly how to define it, and why you need it on a consistent basis? There's never sometimes when I'm talking to clients about marketing and, referring them to marketing companies, I'm a business coach. I love talking about marketing, but there's marketing companies like yourselves that actually, really get into the granular piece of it. But they say, well, how long do I do it for? I always say forever, but tell me your thoughts. Yeah.
Well, and so I can go to that first. Like, that's why we talk about awareness being such a pillar. So to make it really simple, you are always going to be losing customers. They're going to move, they're going to change priorities, they're going to do something else, they're going to die. Like, there's so many different things that are unavoidable to you losing customers. And so if you're not reaching new people all the time, your company's going to shrink. So that's just the awareness piece. Nurturing, we see this with e-commerce as an example. The average sales cycle is something a lot of people miss, which is like from the first time they see an ad or hear about you to when they buy, there's a long period there. And online for $50, it's about 3 weeks. For $100, it's about 5 weeks. $200 is about 6 weeks. And it trails off between 2 and 3 months. But what that means is you're looking at an average sales cycle between 3 weeks and 3 months. If you're not doing anything to communicate with your customer during that period, you're going to lose a large portion of them. They're going to forget about you. So you have to be filling the funnel, because again, you're going to be losing people out the other end. You have to be continuously communicating with these people, or they're going to forget about you. After they purchase, almost no business can sustain if they're not getting repeat purchases. So you have to continue that communication and staying in touch. And then from there, not 75% of people won't buy from a company they don't inherently trust, which is where that trust factor comes in, which is driven by third-party validation, like PR or influencers or endorsements or referrals or reviews or all these different things that drive a little bit of trust until you can build a really significant brand that people will trust inherently, which takes a very long time and a lot of effort. But there's no point where it's just like, and we're done. So I believe that marketing should be an ever-growing part of your business if you want your business to grow. Yeah,
I love it. I want to go back real quickly and do a quick mini business course on your book. Right. I want to go back to kind of the 3 pillars that you talked about, right? The 3 principles of marketing. So let's give the Think community number 1.
Yeah, it's awareness is number 1.
Okay. And awareness, because why? I'm under the same. When I'm working with people, if they don't raise their awareness, you can't really do your work, and they don't understand. Can you talk about that
Which is super simple. How do you introduce yourself to a new potential customer? If you're not doing that, you're going to shrink by nature, because you're going to lose existing ones. So it's just an ever moving target of how do I continue to reach new people in a profitable way to get them to be aware that I exist. And that's through advertising, through word of mouth, through PR, through all sorts of things people do, content, to try to get people to know they exist. That's what most people think of as marketing.
Yeah, I love it. All right, we're doing the 3 principles of marketing that made over 3,000 brands soar, the Hawke method, available on Amazon. Number 2.
Number 2 is nurturing. So again, there's a sales cycle, can be weeks, can be months. People do not buy things right away. So once they're aware of you, you need to do things that actually help bring them along, whether it's following up in email marketing or SMS marketing, creating great content, just staying in touch with these people so that while they're making that purchase decision, you're still in front of them, you're still building reminders for them so they don't just forget about you. And then post-purchase, how do you keep them coming back? Because it's not enough to just have a great product. You really do have to stay in touch and keep yourself top of mind. People are simple. Just reminding them to come back a lot of times will get them to come back, which is why email marketing and SMS specifically are so prominent in marketing these days.
Love it. All right, number 3.
Yeah, trust. Again, 75% of people won't buy from a company they don't inherently trust. You've got these early adopters that'll just buy it because it looks cool and they'll give it a shot. Some people like that risk. Most people don't. And so you have to have a lot of different ways to build trust before your brand has enough brand equity that people know it. Like, you don't need, McDonald's doesn't need other people to tell you who they are. You know who they are.
Yeah.
But in the beginning and earlier on in a brand, you've got to get that third-party validation. So it could be testimonials, reviews, endorsements, influencer marketing, PR, all these things that allow people to go, oh, these other people that I trust think you're great, so now I can trust you too.
It's great. The Hawke Method, the 3 principles of marketing that made over 3,000 brands soar, by Erik Huberman, can be bought on Amazon. That was great. All right. Now back to our normal podcast. All right. So talk about, let's talk about you and your business. So you sold 2 businesses by the time you were 26. Now you have Hawke Media. You know, business is never a straight line. Give us kind of the 2-minute version of what you did, how you did it, lesson learned.
Yeah. On Hawke Media, you're saying?
No, just kind of how you did it. Like, you know, you're 20-some years old. You're starting a couple companies. Like, you know, I just launched, I'm a business coach, but I launched another business called Launch 3. Mm-hmm. And it's only for 18 to 26-year-olds. It's a coaching platform just for 18 to 26-year-olds to learn all the things about life and building their brand and career that I don't think they're getting enough of in school. And I'd love for you to be a mentor or, you know, talk to the group at one point. I think you'd be a great mentor. And so what is, you know, so just kind of give your kind of path, kind of share your path with us a little bit.
Sure. Graduated 2008, went into real estate 1 week exactly before Lehman Brothers went bankrupt. Realized about 6 months into that, because you don't know when you're in it, you don't know. And that's something to really know about these slowdowns and these economic situations. You know, things are weird, but you don't know how bad they really are until you come out the other side. Yeah. And so 6 months into real estate, I realized this wasn't going anywhere. And I started working on my first digital company and got lucky and ended up launching this online, basically business coaching for musician business called Fame Wizard. It was like masterclass for the music business, targeting independent artists, and was able to raise $1 million for it in 2009. And grew that for 2 years, realized it was never going to be a massive business and wanted to focus on things that I had the biggest opportunity in. So I hired a CEO to take it over because it was profitable, and moved on, started a t-shirt subscription company called Swag of the Month, built that for 1.5 years. Lesson there was, first lesson on the music company was customers that don't have a lot of money make for a really hard business. Lesson 2 with the t-shirt company, I understood the idea of why you need to raise money for certain businesses, getting to, you know, even though we had great unit economics, having actual economics and the money that we needed to scale. And it was just a terrible time to raise money. And I didn't know what I was doing there. So I ended up selling that, where we probably could have kept it going if I could figure out how to raise on that one. And then the third business, Ellie, was a great business, but the board decided to vertically integrate the whole business like 8 months in and burned all our cash. And learned the lesson of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That business was skyrocketing and they just got a little over their skis. Sold that. And then, started, that's when I started Hawke, which was a perfect confluence of I loved growing businesses. I got the opportunity to grow other business by growing my own. I had built two e-commerce companies and sold them. So I was aspirational for a lot of our customers. I had already done what they were trying to do. And so a lot of people, I see this all the time now, where like an 18 or 19-year-old tries to start an agency. It's like, don't do that. Like, by nature, you have no idea what you're talking about. You might be able to convince a couple of people to give you some money, but you're not going to do them you're not going to do a good job. You haven't done enough of this. And so I was lucky enough to enjoy the agency side and have all this credibility when most of my peers, meaning other people that have built and sold e-com brands, didn't want to go run an agency. But I had fun with it. I was doing it as a stopgap originally. It was just like, I'll do this while I figure out what I want to do next. And then I enjoyed it. So it just kept going. And now we'll be a decade, and we're about 2 months away from a decade-old company.
It's great. It's great. You know what I love about what your story is you kind of listened to your gut that you knew something wasn't for you. I used to be in commercial real estate. I was in commercial real estate for a long time, and I actually went from being an agent selling apartment buildings and to taking over my office. And so I was an agent for 6 years. Took over my office I took over August 4th of 2008, and then the market crashed and Lehman in September. And so and then I grew that office, yada yada yada. But I knew when I was done in the real estate business, I knew I wanted to start my coaching company that I wanted to do since I was 18. And so can you kind of tap into kind of the feeling and how you then executed on to know, like, all right, this is something I don't want? Because I think that's part of the struggle, right? Figuring out what you want and figuring out what you don't want, and then how you just kind of made the leap.
Yeah, I think it's a very hard balance. I think only you can answer, in meaning the individual, because there's a very delicate balance between you should move on and it's just hard and you should grind through. Like that's the part that I think if you're in something long enough, you're going to deal with that. And I watch a lot of people, you see, everybody knows the same people that jump from hype industry to hype industry. They're like, oh, I'm going to do social media. Now I'm going to go do crypto. Now I'm going to go do AI. I'm going to do NFTs. I'm going to do cannabis, whatever. And those, like, you got to be really careful not to fall into that where you're just chasing hype. Like if you're getting out of an industry, it should be because that industry is really not made for you and not because you think the grass is greener, because that's what happens with a lot of people is they think like it's all going to be hard. And so now being in, starting my career in real estate into late 2008, like I realized pretty quickly it wasn't going to go, like timing is a big factor and it wasn't going to go well. The same is the opposite for Hawke Media. In 2013, when I started consulting for other brands and I'd sold to e-com companies, no one else had that experience. Like not no one else, I'm speaking hyperbole, but like there weren't a lot of people running around that had sold to e-com companies that were willing to go consult and advise for other brands. I just didn't have that much competition and everybody was starting to dump into e-com. So I got all these tailwinds and now I know what it feels like to have tailwinds versus headwinds. It is really fun to ride. Now, that being said, sometimes there's just headwinds everywhere and to push through them is actually what creates even more success. And you see that with a lot of businesses. It's kind of what I was alluding to right now with our own industry. Like marketing right now is, has retracted. And so you're dealing with a lot of agencies that are going under, that are failing, that are having trouble. And if you can grind through this, there's going to be another day when marketing kicks back off and there's going to be, new opportunities in that. And so making it through the tough times also can set you up for success, but it really depends on the phase of business you're in. Because if you're just starting out and the headwinds hit, it's probably not good because you're probably not going to be able to stick through that and you haven't built enough momentum. But if you already have momentum and the headwinds hit, having some grit and some the ability to grind can actually end up putting you, like separating you from the pack once you get through that in a very big way. I saw it with agencies that came through 2008, 2009, that on the other end, they did not do well in 2008, 9, or 10, but then 11, 12, 13, they just went like this. And they just skyrocketed because they had grinded through that and had built a platform that worked. It also forces good business habits.
Yeah, it's great. It's good. All right. Quick speed round. Book that's had the biggest impact on you or TED Talk?
I'd say the book is Appetite for Self-Destruction by Steve Knopper. It's about the music industry's appetite to continue to screw itself over by not sticking or adopting with the times. And it just reminds me that like we have to constantly be innovating. And it's just like you will die if you don't stay on top of the times. For us right now, AI is a big part of that. And that's why we have our venture fund. Like we started investing in all the tools that could either make us better or replace us, because why would we fight where the market's going?
Love it. Did you ever see the movie Supermensch?
Yeah.
It's a great book. Yeah. Best piece of wisdom you've ever received?
Probably just swing the bat, just keep trying. Because like I don't think anyone's that smart. I think you need to work hard enough, you need to be smart enough, and then it's just doing it. Right. And I have my own podcast, Hawke Talk, that I've interviewed 120 or so top performers in their industries, and like nothing holds them in common from background. It's pretty amazing. The only thing that they all have in common is they went for it and they continue to go for it. And so knowing that that's all that's standing in your way, just go for it and continue to go for it. Continue to try things. And that is where you're going to be some level of success if you are smart enough, hardworking enough, and you go for it.
Yep, I agree. Execution is the key. Execution and consistency beat it all. Beat it all.
Exactly.
Last question, Erik, finish the sentence. One thing everybody can do to grow their marketing is?
One thing really make it easy for people to talk about you. Word of mouth. Make it, 5 to 7 words people can say that they can go tell other people that can feel comfortable promoting your business for you. That's key. Word of mouth is still key.
I love it. Tell everybody who your ideal clients are, how they can connect with you, buy your book, learn more about you, etc.
Yeah, I mean, we're all about making great marketing accessible. So we're really happy to talk to anyone. You can just go to hawkemedia.com and sign up for a free audit. We'll use this whole AI tool we spent a decade building that we'll run through to make sure we can actually identify where the opportunities are. So happy to do that. And then, yeah, books on Amazon, as you said, or Barnes & Noble, or pretty much anywhere books are sold, Audible, etc.
Great, Erik. I love this talk. Think community. I love my podcast. I'm a business coach. I work with people who are successful and stuck. I get them unstuck. I love the podcast because I get to have guests like Erik on to give you guidance to help you get unstuck. One thing, you said a lot of great things, Erik, but one of the things that I want to extract and share again is you will always be losing clients. And so you need to keep on doing something to bring in new clients. I mean, remember that we always got to be prospecting, bringing in new clients. We got to do marketing, reaching out to our people. If Erik and his team at Hawke Media can help you with your marketing, please reach out to him. If I can help you, please reach out to me, jondwoskin.com. Erik, give him your website one more time.
hawkemedia.com.
All right, Erik, this was great. I appreciate your time. Thanks so much. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,